I am your host for this beautiful evening today. My name is Mr. David Ruano. I am a curator here at Rizo Corp Gallery, as well as the creative director and co-founder of Los Ruano Gallery, which is where I met most of the artists here. And this will also become a podcast for the LA Artist Podcast, something that we've been doing for about 3 seasons now, and we're starting it back up doing some of these artist chats. With that in mind, I want to introduce some of the artists that are going to be here today. First and foremost, we have Georgina Pillainayagam. I butchered it, like I said I would, but she is an amazing artist who chooses her colors carefully to serve both a visual and emotional anchor for her intuitive and spontaneous creative process. I remember that from your bio. But yeah, so welcome, Georgina. And then next up, we have Mecca Winston, who is an interdisciplinary artist who explores emotion, identity, and memory with lots of webs in between. As you can see some of her art here in the background. Welcome. And we also have an artist that we've known for a couple years now, starting with some brewery shows that we would do. Mr. Raymond Morua, also known as Bad Hombre. Welcome. He is a self-taught artist with a unique barrio baroque, as he calls it, that blends Chicano culture, custom culture, and lowbrow aesthetic with a classical figurative painting style, which is amazing, which we will hope to talk about. And then last but not least, and certainly not the shortest, we have Brian Knappmiller. Welcome. He is a filmmaker and visual storyteller that moves between documentary, TV, and photography for the past 20 years or so. And he's currently working on a new series known as Remember the Gift that we have here in the gallery. So we'll be exploring that as well. Thank you for coming. Yeah. Woo. Intro done. All right, we can all sit down and not be as nervous. How are you guys feeling today?
Feeling good.
Good.
Wonderful.
Great. And so one of the things with this artist chat is we want to explore consistency. It's something that I know Raymond and I, we've talked about. Georgina and I, we've talked about a lot. And one of the topics that keeps popping up, especially with upcoming artists. And I know most of you have been creating art for a while now. And I know, Brian, you've been going from behind the camera, as you mentioned, to now doing more visual art for galleries. Can you tell us a little bit about your art that you're doing currently?
As you mentioned, I've been a TV producer for the better part of the past 20 years. And I've produced tons of television and documentary stuff across all kinds of networks. And then I think through that, it's given me an appreciation for just human connection and like real human stories. Like those are the kind of things that I'm drawn to, are moments that alter people's lives, that make a change, that make an impact. And the particular art project I have now, like a lot of aspects of my career, was a little bit accidental. I didn't set out to do this. This art project sort of found me, and it all happened during the Eaton fire in Altadena about a year and a half ago, when a close friend of mine lost his house in the fire. And I went with him to sift through the ashes afterwards, and we found nothing. And my friend happens to be a balloon twister. And at the end of that day, he made a bunch of balloon flowers and placed them around his property. And the documentarian in me basically was like, I need to document this. So I took a bunch of pictures and we had a conversation, because the name of the project I call Remember the Gift. And that came from a conversation we had where I was starting to feel emotional at the end of the day over all this loss I was surrounded by. Yet my friend seemed oddly just calm and at peace with everything. And when I sort of called him on it, he looked me dead in the eye, and with, confidence and resolve, he said, the problem is people mistake the house and the things for the gift. He's like, that's not the gift. The gift is the experiences I created within and the memories I still have. My gift didn't burn. Mm-hmm. And that sort of stayed with me for, ever since that moment. And so after a year of having these photos, not knowing what to do with them, sort of this art project sort of was born out of the sort of desire to try to tell that story, to try to like, how can I use these photographs and create art around them as a way for us to, discuss that idea that permanence is an illusion, that our houses, our quote permanent residences can go away as quick as the wind shifts and one ember flies your direction. And that what really does matter is connection, And of course, my friend being a balloon artist, balloons by their nature have but one purpose, and that's to create temporary joy. And so even balloon art at its core is temporary. Everything is temporary except for those, like I said, the connection we can build, the moments we can, create with each other, the experiences we have. And so my project was born from sort of a desire to try to push that out into the world, to sort of create that discussion and try to add a little bit of color and joy to a world that sometimes can seem very daunting and crazy.
I can dig that. Yeah, that's amazing. And I do like what we mentioned about, the memories, the objects are temporary, but the memories can last a little bit longer, for sure. And that's one of the things with even Mecca's work. You had mentioned in your bio that it was about emotions, identity, and memory. Can you speak a little bit about your art?
Yeah, so a lot of my work, my abstract and like my web stuff, I try to like paint myself bigger than life with like work like this. I feel like a lot of times like I express singular emotion, and sometimes that is just being overly happy or overly like airing it in some ways. But sometimes it's just like one of those things where like I create work and I display, and sometimes I feel like I'm just pretending to be an artist, or like I'm pretending to do things and like understand what I'm doing as a creative. Because like, to be honest, when I first displayed with you guys, I told my dad, I was like, it's at a brewery. You like beer, I like beer. I have art, you do art. Like, I'm gonna put my stuff in this show. And it turned into something amazing. Like 2 years down the line, like here we are. But it's one of those things where like it plays like a weird part with like how like to express yourself. Like I think work like this and like my abstract work kind of like play how I get to express myself within, and I don't have to like kind of like minimize it for anyone. Like I can go into detail about it and then turn around and be like, in this next piece, oh my gosh, I was so happy when I made it, but this piece, like it broke me down. I had to work on it for weeks. I was crying. I couldn't figure it out. So I think that like involving yourself in your work, it becomes something where like when people understand it and people can interpret it in different ways, like it becomes something where it's like, you get my work, like you see my work for what it is, I see my work for what it is. And like that just kind of like art is one of those things you can share emotionally. Mm-hmm. And when people understand that, it's nice. It's nice to see, it's nice to hear, like especially during like art night when you have dozens of people asking, but then someone comes up and is like, this is what this means to me. And it relates to you as an artist.
I can do that, yeah. And it is true because it's very vibrant, it's very bold, especially with your color palette. And then speaking of color palette, I know Georgina, we've talked about color palette a lot, and you're very particular with your color palette. Can you tell us a little bit about that and your process?
For me, I intentionally choose my colors. I intentionally choose my paints. And as of recently, I decided to choose Nova Color because Nova Color paints are local, and I wanted to branch out more locally. So I also tried to limit my colors because when I first started out, I was everywhere. And I was using all kinds of color palettes, not thinking about what I wanted to express. And I also studied, I'm a self-taught artist, so I went and did a lot of research in color theory and the psychology of color and the emotional impact of color and how people are affected by it, how I'm affected by it. I absolutely love color and patterns, and I find it interesting how nature already has it all figured out. And if you're out there, you will always see a purple flower with a yellow fuzzy stuff in the middle. and that nature has already decoded it. And so I drew from that. And that's my process has been just focusing on the color, focusing on my subject, and then just let everything happen.
I can dig that. Yeah. And especially, I know you have a lot of your mushrooms here, and I always tell her, like, she can bust them out in like 20 minutes. But it's like, how can you do that with the specific color palette, which is amazing how you do it. And
I want to say I have some sort of thought out, structural, awesome process, but the reality is not that.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's spontaneous and intuitive.
It's very intuitive. And I do some background work on it. Like I do have this is not my 100% full-time job, so I do have a regular job. At my job, if I have 10, 15 minutes, or if I'm waiting for somebody to answer the phone, I'm sketching. So I have Post-it notes.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm outside, when I go for a walk, or if I'm outside, or if art night, I think is great because I encounter a lot of people with different colored clothing, a lot of fashion sense, and it inspires me.
I can do that.
I take like snapshots and then, okay, this coordinates really good.
Yes. That's really cool. And that is one thing that is always good to have as far as even just practice. Getting inspired by other things and a lot of things. And then speaking of inspiration, Raymond, you, in your own bio, you created your own unique style, the Barrio Baroque.
Yeah, so the Baroque style is like from the 1700s, and it's well known for its use of lights and shadows, right? And so I like, as you know, like I do vibrant colors, but I also like to contrast it so that you have I do like to play with light and shadow, but in color, like to make it colorful, but with light and shadow. And then, I added the body because it's, on the streets in the hood, like it's colorful, even though it's the hood, it's still colorful. And with those colors, you can still have colorful lights, colorful shadows. And so that's kind of how I came to coin my style that.
I can do, yeah. And it's very, very vibrant, like especially for some of what would be like your pinup, your cholas. It's very vibrant, but it doesn't seem lacking. It's very colorful. It's really cool. And then one of the things that will be that I want to discuss with everybody is consistency, because that's the main topic of today's artist chat. Consistency. How are we consistently fighting inconsistency? Because as artists, sometimes we procrastinate a little, but we still have to keep going. And one of my questions that I want to throw out there to whoever wants to go first is, what role does consistency play in your life, whether it's an artist or just in regular life?
I mean, I found that consistency in some ways is everything. It's like you have to, at least for me, create routines and be consistent to create. I wouldn't say I'm consistent in any one medium, but I would say I'm consistent as a creative. And that I wake up every day, and every day I have to create something. Sometimes that's something I'm writing, a screenplay or a book I'm working on. Other times it's doing a painting or working on one of my pieces for the gift. Other times it's working on a documentary film or a TV show. But every single day I wake up, I make it a point that it's my day's sort of not complete unless I've created something. I didn't realize how important that was really in my life until about a year ago, when my daughter, of all things, came home from school and had a class project, and one of it was to interview the parents, and asked me, she said, "Daddy, what's your purpose in life?" And I hadn't really thought of that before, but in the moment it sort of hit me that my purpose is to create and put good things into the world. And so that really is, for me, how I remain consistent, is with this drive to wake up every day and create something. Well, it might not get finished that day. I guess I might bounce around with my adult ADD to multiple different projects and do a little painting in the morning and then writing in the afternoon. Like, I am all over the place with TV and writing and painting and artwork, but I'm consistent in that every day I have to create something.
I like that. Anybody else have another thought?
Sure, I'll go. So I'm an old soldier. So the military drilled into me about being consistent with like the small mundane stuff, right? That's what gives you your second nature. That's what gives you your instincts to perform whatever it is you need to perform. And as an artist, I would say consistency is probably about 80% of just being an artist for me, because I've starting to learn. I've been painting for 10 years and doing it full time for like 4 now. And so I've started seeing, like we've talked about this, like, you know, the paintings go through an ugly period, right? You got to block it in. And it's not fun. It's like the most unfun part of it. I think so. It's not, you know, it's like you have your idea of what it is that you want to paint, but then it goes through like this ugly stage and you start second guessing yourself, like, why am I doing this? But it's the consistency of showing up, and like, even if it's an hour, you know, a few brush strokes, getting a section blocked in, just being consistent with that building period. Because when it does come time to do like the final, like the final details and touches, like that's like, all right. And it's like, then you start feeling better about yourself. But the consistency, I feel, especially now that that I am putting out more paintings and I am required to show up more to like stuff and like actually provide pieces that are paid for, it's like, you know, that consistency, it's the game winner. It's like G.I. Joe said, you know, it's half the battle.
I agree.
Yeah, you have to be consistent and do a little something every day. Otherwise, you'll become consistent with inconsistency, and then nothing gets done.
Which is what we're trying to fight against.
Yeah.
Mecca?
Yeah. I think consistency shows up in my work, but a lot through my dad. Like every day after I get off of work, it doesn't matter if I get off at 10:30 or at 2:30, 4:30, whatever. He always walks past my room and he'll say, do more work. And I could be in the middle of a piece, frustrated at it. I'm staring at the floor. I'm covered in paint. He'll walk past, do more work. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, I'm working right now. I'm doing work. But like, it's that like constant, like he's like the voice in the back of my head, but like literally walking past my room, like do more work, constantly do more work. And that kind of like drives my consistency in doing art, because he is like my biggest like critic, you know, like whenever I have a piece and I'm like, I'm going to show this, he's like, you need to set it up first. So I set it up in the living room. We stare at it. He's like, does it make sense? Do you have a story behind it? So like it goes through like a whole process, but like it always starts with him staring at me while I'm covered in paint and borderline in tears, do more work. And I'm like, please, like I'm doing more work. I want to quit. He's like, no, if you wanted this, you have to do more work. He's not going to let me live it down anytime soon. So that's the one thing.
And I do feel like there's a lot of truth in that. Even with what Raymond was saying, in the military, it's the little things.
Yeah.
And a lot of the little things is just doing the work. Just do the work, whether you want to or not.
Because even when I don't feel like painting and I'm like doing something online, I'm editing my website, posting or like something on Instagram, and he looks at it, he's like, oh, okay, you've been working, I guess. He'll walk away and then he'll walk back by an hour later. You haven't done anything yet. I'm like, please, I just posted this video, just posted this reel, like give me a break. But he constant, do more work. And that's just what rings to me whenever I create something. It's like, I could be doing more.
I can do that. Georgina?
For me, it was somewhere I heard earlier on, when I decided to pursue this art thing, was the painting doesn't paint itself. I can walk around with 100 pictures in my phone of inspiration. I can read all the inspiration I want. Empty canvas is an empty canvas unless I put something on there. And unless I have something to show you or any of the other curators I'm working with, I have nothing. It's just ideas stayed in my head. So from his standpoint, I do have ADHD, and I had to learn how to handle that. So I do manage going back and forth between whether I'm doing sketching or journaling or art journaling or collaborating, doing collages or something, and then painting. And the little things, the mundane tasks make a difference. So my mundane task is I hate cleaning my studio. But I do need to wash my brushes and clean all of this stuff out and maybe give it a treatment for the brushes, clean all the pails out and vacuum the floor. And that kind of sets you in the sip space as I've put that into practice. And the social media part, I dread it. I do. But unfortunately or fortunately, that is the way we are going today. So I have to spend time on course of learning how to do something, what this means, what that means, how many reels am I going to put out? How am I going to put out my reels? What am I going to include? And all of that. So for me, consistency, I have broken it down into basically do something every day, break it down into no more than just art related. When I first started out, I was going to be all organized. No, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I met so many artists now that I find every one of us is like this.
Oh yeah.
So I felt I have a sense of comfort in that. And I also don't fret about being last minute anymore because I haven't met an artist who's not last minute.
I mean, creativity can be born through the chaos, right?
I have heard that statement almost from every single artist I've met.
And to your point earlier, it's all about still the consistency. You're not a creative if you don't create. So as long as you can create in the chaos, you're good.
Yeah. So like you said, 20 minutes, the painting is done.
You got to. Yeah, because like it is like born in the chaos. That's one of the things that I do a lot, especially when I'm editing. Some of the times I don't want to. I'm not inspired. I don't feel like it, but I have to at least put something on the timeline where it's like, these are the videos that I need to edit for the reel because the show's tomorrow. And then I'll just wait, procrastinate a little. But then I get to a point, especially at night, where I am dead tired, half asleep, but my brain, for some reason, puts everything together and I finish the edit in less than 20 minutes when I've been dreading it for like 3-4 hours. But again, but it goes back to you have to do the work.
I've talked to artists who say that they don't paint until they're inspired. And I'm like, dude, if I waited till I was inspired, nothing to get painted.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that I haven't met a single artist who didn't say this. Like every single artist I know is last minute Lana, complete chaos, and
Gets it done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's a process.
That piece over there, I didn't finish it till Monday. When I dropped it off to y'all, I literally was in the backyard painting. And then I was just like, guys, like, what does this look like? Does this look done? My dad was like, turn it in. Like, it's done. It's done. It's done. Turn it in. And I was just like, okay.
You could smell the fresh paint on it when you drop it.
Oh my God. I didn't even get to spray it down. Like, it's just, I was like, please, like, the paint's in the car.
I mean, I have done the same thing. I've brought it in here half varnished. Varnish is so wet.
Oh God.
That, or every now and again, like, even unframed, and we'll just frame it here. Like,
I brought wet oils in here.
Yeah.
and sold it.
Yeah. But again, it goes back to you just have to do the work. You have to stay consistent with the work. And one of the things that we did touch a little bit about, that was kind of like my next question on scheduling. Is there any, I know you mentioned even at work, if you find some time to sketch, to
So if I'm not working, my schedule, my art do something time is between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. because I'm a night person. I've always been a night person. My regular job is night shift. So, and if I'm at work, and I know no one's gonna watch the podcast though. If I'm at work, I try to get there. I get my clock in time is 10:30. I try to get everything done by 12:30. From 12:30 to 3:30, I can do any sketching I need to do or any social media. That's great for social media time. To edit my reels, edit my video content to put it on all my reels. Look at my paintings. Once I take pictures of my paintings, it's a time to just sit with my painting
Yeah.
because I don't often get the chance to sit with my painting at home. So I take a picture of it, I sit with it, and maybe if I do this, so when I get home, bust it out right then and there. Don't think about it. Don't delete that all.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get on scrolling.
Yeah, and I do feel like that is something very important that we should all do as artists is literally step back and actually just look at your work. Kind of like what your dad does.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, set it up. Set it up like if it was an actual show. If you have clean walls, which most of don't really have that much space, but if you do, set it up, whether it be outside, and to be able to take time to fully grasp your painting. Because you'll find, as artists, we always find something that we can tweak, but sometimes we're like, no, it's good. Stop touching it. But yeah.
And when you're painting, also you're too close to it.
Oh yeah.
So
You have
you're
to.
taking the time to go back and just not touching it and to look at it. Look at your own work.
Yeah. And then what about you? Well, I know you're behind camera. Sometimes you're.
I mean, like I said, I try to create something every
Mhm.
day, but in specifics to this art and like my continued sort of further dive into the world of mixed media and painting, a lot of it for me, it tends to be weekend. Because during the week, I tend to be busy with some of the TV projects I'm working on. I'm currently writing a book, so I have like other writing projects I'm working on. But a lot of this tends to be weekend for me when I can sort of turn off the other stuff. The other demands have gone away and I can sort of become creative 100% solely for me. Because not that the other things I'm not also invested in creatively, but there's different partners, you know, like TV and film is such a collaborative medium. There's always a team, there's always people. Whether it's people I'm following their story on camera, people I'm collaborating with behind cameras, there's always other voices that are a part of that creative process where this is 100% just me. And so for me, it's weekend when I can sort of just find that time. But also it's important for me because it's also a way for me to sort of shut off all the noise from everything else and just dive into it and just let myself get lost in this project and come up with creative ways to sort of further the story of the gift through art. And I'm continuing to explore different ways to explore that theme. But yeah, it tends to be a lot of, you know, Saturday, Sunday mornings through afternoons before I get sucked into family movie night.
I can do that. Hopefully we get the invite one of these days.
Yeah, it's good movies in my house, man. Yeah.
They're all your own. No, I'm just kidding. What about Raymond? I know you've become more of a full-time artist.
Yeah, so for me, I'm a morning guy. So as soon as I get that coffee, like I like to get in there and create and get start putting paint, start sketching, getting canvas ready, whatever I need to do. But like Georgina said, like the person who taught me how to paint, they kept telling me like, take a break, step back. You want to be whenever you review your art, you want to do it from 6 to 8 feet away, not like up close, because you could get lost in it, you know, the details, all that stuff, and you're just like so focused on something, you're missing the bigger picture of what it is that you're trying to bring about. And so I also learned to like squint, like when I'm looking at my piece, like I'll kind of just to kind of like, you know, see how it looks when you squint, because you can see like a different perspective from it. And then I'll take pictures of it. I'll put it in grayscale to kind of see like, are my values right? Like I start, you know, I'm pro now, man.
I can dig it.
So, you know, like I check all that. Like, are my values right? Do I need to, you know, how are my shadows looking? And then I have a little dog who's very demanding, so I take her for a walk. And you know, and then it brings me back with fresh eyes, and I'm able to look at it again. And then you know, sometimes you just got to know when to stop too, because you become obsessive. And it's like, you know what? And you start ruining pieces, and it's like, I need to stop. I'll come back to you tomorrow. So
yeah, for sure. What about Mecca?
I think throughout the week is definitely when I practice my work the most. Like right off of work, like at 12, I'm kind of sitting there brewing on what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna do it, and then I don't start anything till like night. I don't know why everything's from like 6 p.m. to like midnight, but like that's when I can work, and that's when I work the best. Because I feel like it's like my dad's not walking around like do more work, like I can kind of like work in peace almost. But
Sounds like you have to distract your dad.
oh my gosh, They're like, oh no, the tomatoes, go pick them. But yeah, no, throughout the day, I'm definitely like working on my social media. How can I post things? What kind of content can I push? Because before I was definitely like an artist where it's like, well, I don't want people to know me off of social media. I want people to know I do art by like word of mouth. And then I was like, I was like, AI is kind of taking over. I was like, I can't do that. So I started posting more and I was like, well, I need a posting schedule. I need to figure out how to create content. So it kind of looped in a bunch of factors where it's like, I have people who do editing and I'm like, how do I edit this video to make it make sense? How do I do this? So it became like my day-to-day to like make a video, edit it, send it over to somebody. Does this make sense? Can I post it? Yes, I'm gonna post it at this time when people are on Instagram. And then from 6 p.m. to 12, I'm working. So like just kind of like that routine, but on the weekends, I take a break, I breathe, I look at everything, I like make sure things look right. And then I show my dad and he'll either tell me a yes or a no. And then I move on from there.
And then as a follow-up to that, because I know like being busy doing that can be a little daunting at times. Has there ever been a moment where you lose a little bit of that momentum, and how do you get out of it to keep going?
Yeah, I feel like earlier this year, I like lost momentum completely. I like displayed in one show and it was just a bunch of work that I did like from like November. And I wasn't feeling it. Like the beginning of the year was not my year. And in March, I think I was sitting in my room. I was kind of like wallowing. I was just like, oh my gosh, everything's terrible, all this stuff. And I kind of realized, I was like, I have all these paintings sitting around. I have, the ability to create, and I'm not creating. Like, this is kind of like wasted, like, potential. Like, I can see where this can go, how far I can take it, and I'm choosing not to right now. So it kind of knocked me out of it. And when I was in school, a lot of teachers they were kind of like iffy on the work I created because it was like between graffiti and then like fine arts. But they were just kind of like, you need to pick one. I was like, I can do both. And I did both out of spite. I was just like, y'all don't understand. I can do both of these things. So it was one of those things where it's like, if I kind of like let myself kind of like wallow down, I'm going to prove them right. And it's like, I didn't go into debt. I didn't get this degree for nothing. Like, I'm gonna show y'all what I can do, and I'm gonna do it.
I can believe that. Georgina, have you ever had a moment where you had to push yourself to keep the momentum?
I heard this interview that was done with Miss Taylor Swift, and one thing she said was the interviewer asked her a question. Don't you ever get bogged down with all the paparazzi, all the media, all the scrutiny, all the haters, all the people who need your attention all the time? And her answer was, this is what I wanted. So the instantaneous moment that I feel that that I don't want to do anything, I don't feel like it, I have to counsel myself, go, this is what I wanted.
I can do that.
I made this choice. I decided to pursue art 100% last year, 2024, end of 2024. I decided to pursue my art career 100%. So I still do have a job that's 20%, 30%. My art is 70%. This is what I chose, which means also another quote from Kevin Hart, burn the ship. No going back. There's no fallback. There's no background. There's nothing. Don't look back. Just keep going. Even if it is a sketch, even if it is something, do something.
I like that.
And if you suck at it, at least you know you sucked at it.
And you can only get better from there.
You know what though? Like one thing that I found, like, because initially like acrylics is my go-to, But remember we talked about, so this last year I've been transitioning into oils. And so I think it's important to also like not to get just like bogged down in one medium, because now that I'm more in oils, I'm in love again. Like I want to touch oils. I can't wait. Like I have all these projects lined up. Like I can't wait to, do them in oil. And so it's like, I still love acrylic. Acrylic's still like my go-to, but it's just, I think it's important to branch out and like dabble with other mediums to keep that creativity, that passion alive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How about yourself, Brian?
I mean, this is all new for me in a lot of ways. I feel like I'm the youngest artist up here in terms of like creating something to hang in a gallery. But as someone who's been a creative his whole life, I feel like there's always moments of doubt and always moments of struggle. But for this in particular, I think for me, there's definitely been moments of imposter syndrome, definitely been moments of like, what am I doing? And then I just have to remind myself that like, just because I haven't done something before that hung up in a gallery, like I've made movies and TV shows that have been seen by millions of people. So it doesn't mean that I don't have a perspective or, artistic abilities. It just means that of my creative tree, if you will, this is a new branch that I didn't know was there before that I'm exploring for the first time. So I've had dozens of moments over the past, 6 months or so that I've sort of decided to dive into this, that I've had doubts or questioned, but then I just had to remind myself that like, this is what I do. Like I said, my life mission is to create things and put good stuff into the world. So is it going to take off? I have no idea. Is it going to become bigger than this? No idea. But also, what do I have to lose? Like if it's something I'm trying to express a story, like ultimately for me, it comes back to storytelling. I'm trying to express a story through my pieces. And this is my new way of trying to tell that story versus doing it in a more traditional way. And so for me, I'm like, let's go for it. And, as long as I can feel that it satisfies the creative itch in me, that's what sort of keeps me going when I have those moments of imposter syndrome or doubting that it's not good enough to be on the walls. But here I am on the walls. So, let's fucking go.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, because it is one of those things where, every artist has his own journey, its own path. And there was a saying, I can't remember who said it, but like they were talking about, if you type on Google Maps your destination, it'll tell you which is the best route. And if for some reason you take the wrong turn, it still tell you the best route to get there. So it's a matter of you just continue the route. You'll get there.
There's a million roads to any destination, and and none of them are right or wrong, man. As long as you get where you're going, go for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just gotta put one foot in front of the other and keep going.
Yeah,
that's the main.
Just keep going. Yeah. Again, burn the ship. Don't look behind you, because again, what's in the past? All your mistakes. I'm like, right, just keep going. You'll get better. And yeah, because that was one of the things that we wanted to talk about too. Is like, how do we overcome negativity? Which I think we talked very well about it. Just keep going. Do the work.
Yeah, I think part of it too is a little bit to what the Taylor Swift quote was somewhat alluding to, and I've old coworker of mine used to say the same thing. That is like, you have to take all that hate, all the doubters, all the naysayers, and you have to turn that into your fuel. Mm-hmm. Like, let that be the thing that pushes you. And for me, my whole career, it's always been that way, because coming from the TV world, you hear no 1,000 times before you hear a yes. And so I've always looked at it where every no is one step closer to that yes. And every time someone says, oh, it's not a good story, it's not a good whatever, but you feel it is, you just have to take that hate and turn it into, I think you talked about like almost feeling like out of spite, you told those people, I'm like, no, I'm gonna do both. It's that same kind of vibe. Like, like if people say no, it's not good enough, it's like, no, screw you, I'm gonna show you how it's good. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
It's turning that hate into fuel. It's letting the haters be your motivation to keep going and prove them wrong every day.
Yeah. And even with what you said, like there's going to be 1,000 no's. But one thing that I know he's recently said on an interview, you have to be ready when they say yes. Yeah. Because again, no's are good. That means like, okay, that might not be the right time for you. There might be something that you need to add to your repertoire, something you might need to hone in. That's why they said no, or they just don't like you, which is fine. That means you don't have to work with that person. But when somebody says yes, you have to be able to produce,
I like to take the no and find out why that no exists. I want to know why if to me, more importantly, someone says, no, I don't like your work, or no, I don't like this, or no, this doesn't fit my aesthetics. And that has happened. There are curators who I've worked with who have said, this piece is not, that beautiful letter email that you get, that I'm sorry, at this present time, we encourage you to blah, blah, blah. And I would like to know, is it because was this not part of your curation vision? If it's not, it's not.
Yeah.
Is there a feedback that you can provide me? Was it too large, too small? Was it anything that was significant for me to learn from? And that's where I look at it.
Yeah.
I want to know why. That's more important, because then if it is a why that I can learn from, or if it is a why that I can go, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One thing that I learned, for instance, feedback's great, right? And I worked with curators who do give you that feedback, and then others who just leave you hanging. But one thing that I've also done a few times is, like, if I got denied for a show, I'll go show up to that show to see what they put up.
Yes.
And then my eyes are even more open. Like, okay, I had no business being in the show.
I learned that too.
But I don't feel bad about that.
No.
Because what it does, it makes me like, okay, I need to tighten this up.
It's a learning experience.
Right. Yeah.
And I just recently discovered that, where if I'm rejected for a show up for the show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To see what they chose and why they chose it, because it is a learning experience.
I was just gonna say, I think that's smart, and I like the idea of, like, you can always learn from the feedback. My only caveat would be, there have been some times in my career where you get the feedback and you realize that person's feedback isn't worth it. You know, like, there are some times where it's like, some people say no because maybe it's not their job to say yes. Maybe they don't know how to say yes. Maybe they say no because they don't know what they're doing, you know? And so it's like, you need that discernment, because some feedback is invaluable, and it can help you, like you said, seeing what got on the wall in the show you got rejected from, seeing what's working and what's not. Other feedback, you're like, you know what, not worth my time. This is garbage. I know my worth. I know my project's worth, and this feedback isn't worth my time.
That was also a learning experience for me when I worked with someone and they said no, and then they don't provide you, like, they leave you hanging. That is an immediate, for me, that it was a learning experience. I'm not going to invest more time with this curator and this gallery.
Yeah.
Because
it's unprofessional.
It's unprofessional, but it's also not worth my time. Because, like you said, there's somebody who's going to say yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. When people tell me no, I think they're crazy. I'm like, what? Like, you just told me no. I gave you variations of work. What are you talking about? But okay. I take no's with a grain of salt, because you never know what people have envisioned for, like, their space and everything. So, like, I mean, like, I've heard a dozen no's. I heard a no this week, and, like, I read the thing, and it was like, oh yeah, you know, like, reapply. I was like, reapply. Y'all are good. Y'all are so good off of me. Like, you know, you're crazy. Like, you denied me, but you want me to reapply again. No, you didn't want me in the first place. But those no's, I kind of take them, and I'm like, I've heard as many no's as I have heard. There's always a yes in spaces that I am accepted in. Like, there's always a yes here. You know, like, I'm always gonna have a yes with like emerging gallery. You know, there's always spaces where, like, people see what I can create and will engage with it. And for every no, I'm just like, man, like, y'all are missing out. Like, that's on you. I can't do anything about it.
I share a very similar approach. So when I hear a no, I think it's the Scorpio and the natural redhead in me.
Yeah.
I'm a stubborn dude. And, like, when I hear a no, it just feels me to be like, oh, you're going to say no? Watch me go get my yes, you know? 100%. And it just pushes me more than ever to fight more.
And then, you know, next thing you know, they're asking for you. You're not asking for them. They're like, can you display? Oh, no,
like,
it's
sorry,
not my
like,
scheduling.
Like, sorry, new phone. Who this?
My bad.
Oh, I've done that. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm glad we said yes to you. Otherwise, you would have still shown up and be like, ah. No. But yeah, no, it is one of those things where we have to stay positive. You know, like, a no it's yeah, brush it off. Take it with a grain of salt. You know, because there's always going to be a yes around the corner.
Yeah.
But again, we have to go around the corner. We have to stay consistent on keep doing the work, even if it's something that we don't like, but it's mundane. You know, like whenever we have time, we just have to continue being consistent. And with that in mind, like, how does not only staying consistent but having a support system help you guys? Like, is there a support system that you guys use? I know you like used your dad to help you with feedback, but are there any other things like the community that help you?
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like my dad supports me, like, with, like, creating stuff, but, like, my mom and Sarah, damn near every show I have, they will show up without fail. And, like, I could literally text Sarah and be like, I have a show in an hour. I forgot to tell you 2 days ago. She's down the street. She's like, same gallery, same time. I'm like, yeah. She's like, buying a margarita for me? Yeah, I got you. Okay. But like having that like support system where it's like you can kind of rely on people to show up. Like I have my friends in Chicago who kind of like, even though they can't come to shows like this, like I had 4 of my friends fly out and they came to one of my shows. They flew out on a Wednesday night, came in at midnight to come to a show, to fly back that same night. And I was just like, they were like, like as much as it's a wellness check, we're also like, we've seen this online. We want to come, like we're jealous. And they came and I was just like, that almost brought me to tears, like dropping them off at the airport. I was just like, man, like, yeah, I was just like, y'all like came to my show and like I'm dragging them around LA. I'm like, and here's a palm tree and here's the sun. I know you haven't seen it in a while, but like they came to the show and like hung over and all. Everyone was just like, oh my gosh, like this is, this is what we've been seeing online. This is what we wanted to see. And I think it's great. I've built a support system at work too. Like all of my coworkers, they kind of get jealous. They're like, so we can't come to your art shows? I've never said that. They can come to my art shows. They literally like, I'll be like, oh yeah, I had a show. They're like, yeah, you invited like 3 of our regulars. Greg asked me about it. I don't know what more y'all want from me. No, literally, I'm like, I posted it online. I've talked about it at work. Greg's the only one who said, where's the address at? Write it down on my receipt. And Greg shows up. But like it's things like that where like the unexpected like support system comes in and it's just like it's consistent. And that's one of the things where it's like, wow, like you kind of owe everything to that. It's like I'm gonna keep creating because that support system's gonna keep showing up.
How about Georgina?
For me, my support system is my sister. She collects art. She has been collecting art since she was younger. And she knows a lot about artists way before I even started focusing on it. So for me, I will send a picture of what I'm working on or trying to work on or blocked and what I have already blocked on the canvas. And the feedback will come back brutal. And she'll be like, your light, where's your light? Or things like, what are you trying to say? I don't get it. What are you trying to say? Or put it down. Go step off. Go do something else. Yeah, this is too much. So I get very honest, very buyer perspective from her, and also she's like, you're trying to be too much, or you need to back off, or you're using too many colors, or you're too strong. You have no light and shadow. You're all one tone. What's going on? So I get for her. And then I have a few friends here and there who take on various roles of playing my Uber drivers because I'm too tired to drive, transport, making labels, printing my labels for my art. I do have a few people from my jobs where they adjusted my schedule, so I'm off for my art shows and switch schedules with me so I don't have to work.
That's awesome.
Work around schedules. So I did accidentally fall into a group of eclectic people because I really don't have any family members in California. So it's kind of like a group that came around. Mm-hmm. And I've been showing consistently at Newport Beach Art Show, and that's where I started out. And that's just once a year I did just to see if I can actually pull this off. And the consistency of me actually putting out work and doing the work actually got a lot of people to support me. Then, of course, as far as the gallery system goes, I've got Andrew, I've got you, I've got Anna, who are very open and honest in critiquing, going, yeah, this works, you need to do this, and you need not do this. The best advice that I followed was the one that you gave me: do 80% of what works, 20% of experiment, and that's what I do. I from the time you said it, I put it into place. And of course, everything Andrew says, I pay close attention to it. It's like, this works. If you tried this, have you tried this? Have you tried this? I'm like, I haven't, but I'm gonna go try. So that's how I have built my support system.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I'm honored that I'm part of it. How about yourself?
I guess I'd say I have sort of two support systems. I have my core support system, which is my wife and my daughters. That they're the ones that are like my true, like, yes, wife right there. But they're awesome. They're my true, like, emotional support that are just there to help push me and encourage me, no matter how crazy these, different paths I decide I want to take creatively are. They're always there to support and to push and to sort of have my back. And then interestingly, with this project in particular, sort of the unconventional support system that sort of happened that I wasn't expecting was the actual people I meet in the different galleries that really are attracted to the pieces and are moved by them. I have yet to have a showing where somewhere on the opening night, when there's lots of people coming, someone hasn't had like tears in their eyes and given me a big hug and thanked me for doing these pieces. And I didn't realize that these pieces could elicit such an emotion from others, but having that and being able to have those connections one-on-one with people when they see the art has also really driven me and pushed me, like, okay, this is working, it's connecting, I have to keep doing more and keep pushing this story. And that has become sort of a surprise support system for me, something that is really driving me right now to continue to create.
That's awesome. That's Raymond?
Support family, friends, unconditional, the unsolicited advice from my wife. But I've noticed that more recently, like sort of like you, like a different support system that I've been relying heavily on is like other artists, especially artists who've been around way longer than me. Like, for example, the guitar that I painted, I did that in automotive paint. So metal flake, candy. That's my first time ever doing something like with that type of stuff. And so there's an artist out there in Ventura County, Buster, and he does that stuff like all the time, like it's like lowbrow, like custom culture type stuff. And so I had no idea where to even start. And so I reached out to him and like he walked me through it. Like, he gave me a checklist and like, so that was cool. Or even like getting into oils, like I reached out to Anna and I'm like, hey, like, how do I do this? And how do I do this? Because it's totally different from going from acrylic to oil, or even like, like you and Andy too, like I came in, I'm like, hey, what's working? What's not working? Like, oh, no one's like, all right, let's take those out. There's no wow. It's like, hey, let's make it happen. And so like, definitely like, family and friends, they love it. They're going to give me my high fives and my pat on my back. But it's like other artists, curators, you guys are the ones that I've been like leaning towards to get further, to, put the wind in my sails to get me,
Yeah, and I do feel like that's what we all need, and that's what we all strive for. Because myself, I have my wife who helps me a lot, especially on the things that aren't on the creative side, like putting together a schedule, making sure that I can mentally do something. Because I have a lot of great ideas. Some of them are a little crazy, doable, but they're a little crazy. And so she will help me balance, like, all right, cool. Don't go that crazy. Don't stress yourself on too much, because that's not as important as something else. And having that support system just help. And besides all of you guys having our backs too, like as curators, is like, I feel like you guys especially like Raymond, I feel like anytime we have a show and we're missing artists or we don't have enough, I'm like, hey Raymond, do you have any pieces? You want to be part of the show? Like, this is 2 days before the show opens, and he's always down. So like that also means a lot to us as well. So, but yeah, having that support system, that family, their friends, the ones you find along the way, it's very beneficial. And again, for what? To keep us consistent. Aha! Tied it back into the title.
Look at you, you're a pro.
I try. Thank you. I try. And then one of the things that I feel like we had a lot of great stories. One of the things that I had on my schedule, thank you, Abby, for helping me out with this thing, was to share a couple of different stories on moments where we wanted to accomplish something, but it wasn't the right time or the right moment. But because of consistency and determination, you were still able to achieve something. Do you guys have any stories that you would like to share?
Yeah. So when I started my web stuff, I started it when I was in college, freshman year, and I was only tagging like the word. So I was tagging a lot of it, and a lot of people just like couldn't grasp, like, you know, like she's just tagging it, like that doesn't really fit the assignment. It doesn't fit whatever. It fit. People just, they weren't seeing it in the scope that I was seeing it in. And then I started to add my face to it, and I was just like, it's not making sense to you guys. Let me make it bigger than life. And sorry. And it it took me a minute to like actually display it. I didn't first display webs until I displayed with you guys. So I had a bunch of pieces in my like room, and when I first came back from my sophomore year, when I developed the character, I went to the Ken and Friends concert, and I made that one. That's my first wubs like ever. So that one where she's throwing up LA, that's my first wubs ever, and it's like, what the fuck, she's home. And I did that one, and I like posted it online, and I was just like, okay. And people liked it, but I never displayed it. And this is my first time displaying it, actually. But like, I didn't think that it was like worth anything just because of how people like critiqued it and stuff like that. So it kind of like, it took me a minute to realize that like, I can like, you know, like push this in a different way. So when I was able to display with you guys and I saw the feedback and like people bought the work and things like that, I was like, oh, people like this. People like my face. People like the gestures that I make and things like that. People like that I'm swearing in art pieces. This is working for me. So then I kind of expanded on it, and like, I mean, it got me where I'm at today, and I love it. So yeah.
That's awesome. Anybody else?
I mean, when you first said that this was a question that might come up tonight, I actually struggled a bit trying to come up with like a really, you know, like solid story. And the only thing I sort of came back to for me was the moment I took that first leap, which was the moment of moving to LA. You know, I moved out here when I was super young. I'm from the Midwest. I'm a Midwest kid, and moved out here without any support system in the town. I moved out here to try to pursue film and to try to go to film school, but I moved out here not being in film school at the time, not knowing what the heck I was doing, having no friends, knowing anybody, and coming from a town or a system where not everyone, but most people were like, well, why are you going out there? You're going to fail. You're not going to do it. You're not even in film school. You can't do this. You can't go out to LA. You can't be a creative. You're from St. Louis. You're from the Midwest, you know? But for me, something inside me, something drove me. Like I said, I turned all those naysayers and all that hate into my fuel to like, no, they're all saying I can't do something. I'm going to prove to them I can. And so I made that first leap, and it was terrifying and it was daunting, but somehow navigated and eventually into film school and into everything else. And then 20 years later, here we are, you know, then one thing led to another that now has led to this new road of making, you know, mixed media art. But for me, it was making that first leap was the most daunting. And it was just, I think, sheer spite, stubbornness, and determination that got me through it. But I've also learned over the years, like once you make that first leap, it's that much easier to make the second and the third and the fourth. And if I was counting, this is probably leap 912. I don't even know, like all the craziness I've done in this town the last 20 years. But like Now it's like it's just expected. My wife will say like, oh, this is just what Brian does. He takes a leap. He's got an idea, and of course he's going to go do that crazy thing because that's just now who I am, you know. But it all started with that, a time when I was young and had no idea what I was doing, and everyone told me I couldn't do what I wanted to do, and I somehow just found the determination and strength to do it, even though inside I was terrified.
Well, and I feel like that's the courage that we need, because sometimes, you know, that's what it means to be courageous. You know, you're still afraid, but you're still moving forward.
But I was more afraid to not try. Like that's really what it came down to. I was so much more afraid to let them be right and be like, all right, you're right. I won't move to LA. I guess I'll just stay here. Because then every day for the rest of my life, I'd be like, what if? Like the fear. I think looking back, like, yeah, I was so much more afraid of not doing it, not making that leap than I was of making the leap. Making the leap was still terrifying because you don't know where you're going to land. But if I didn't make the leap, you got nothing.
I feel like when you don't make the leap, it's scary knowing what you're going to do. Like, it's scary knowing that you're going to be in the same place.
Yeah.
But like when you take the leap, it's like, I'm scared, but like I'm scared of the unknown. I'm not scared of like, ooh, I need to clock into my 9 to 5 now and I need to do this. And I'm still in the same place I was when I was, you know, like 20 years old. Like now it's like I'm jumping into this new thing and it's not scary, or it is scary, but like I'm not hesitant about it. Like I'm jumping into it head first. Like, let's do it. Let's take it on.
Yeah, you have to,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
I think so. I wasn't actively pursuing it. It's definitely a goal that I wanted to do. But last year, I was approached about making a piece for a book, the Luchadores versus Everything book. And at first, I didn't. I just said, yeah, okay. I kind of thought it was a scam, right? But then I noticed, like, once we started emailing, like, I'm now conversating with an art director, right? And so I'm like, okay, this is real. And so I was excited, but then imposter syndrome hit. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute, like I just paint like funny stuff, like you know, like they want like a alternative movie poster for an old luchador movie. So then I had to do so you know, I do sketches and those are my personal things where I share them with friends. I had to send in sketches. They're critiquing the hell out of them, like no, not this, no, this, make it more, look more like this. And we're going back and forth just on my sketches just to get those approved. And at the same time, I'm like, I haven't started painting yet, you know? And I'm still thinking like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, like, you know, cause it's like, I want to do a good job. And then in my mind, I wanted to do something like in the spirit of like Boris Vallejo, like, you know, something classic. And so we finally got that approved. And then it came time to paint. And it's like, it was beating me up, but I just kept pushing through it. And it came out killer. It came out awesome, actually. And they loved it. And that's like, the book's going to come out like pretty soon. And it's like, my piece is like front and center, like in the opening section of the book. So it's like,
congrats.
Thank you. And so like, I was proud of myself. And so that's like you know, I wasn't scared to say yes, but at the same time, it's like, my consistency is what got me through it. And I also feel like my consistency is what even got me noticed for them to approach me about it. And then, you know, to fight off the imposter syndrome, like, dude, I'm an artist, like, because, you know, I think sometimes you get complacent, like when you show act, you know, sometimes there's like little shows, there's big shows, and it's like, you push stuff out, and it's like, am I an artist? Like, or am I just a hustler? Because sometimes it feels like I'm hustling more than I do.
Is it wrong to be both, though?
No, it's not wrong
because,
at all.
like,
You have to
hustle
Yeah.
in the creative industry, in any creative industry.
Anything you do, you have to hustle.
But it doesn't mean it's taken away from you as an artist.
Oh, no, not at all. But I mean, sometimes you feel that way, you know, like I've talked to other artists and it's like, sometimes like, you know, you say like, sometimes you feel like you're putting more work in social media or the website than on the actual canvas. And it's like, but it's, you know, you got to do both. And like you said, it's what we signed up for, right? It's like Mike Tyson said, everybody wants to be a boxer till they go in the ring and get hit. So, you know, everybody wants to be an artist till it's time to create something and put it on a wall. And so like, but yeah, so that's probably like that. And then my most recent one is like Comic-Con. I'm going to be at Comic-Con. Yes. And so like, I was expecting a big fat no, but now they're like, yeah, you're in. And I was like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, if you need grid walls, let me know. I have so much.
I will definitely be asking you for advice.
Yeah. Georgina?
For me, it happened in layers, but I was originally just doing little bits, 1-day shows with 2 or 3 pieces that I created. I didn't have a style. Definitely was on the imposter boat. It wasn't a career choice. It was never seen as a career choice with anyone around me at all. And you don't do art. Then COVID hit. And I work in a hospital. And there isn't a single person who was in there at any point in COVID who didn't have regrets. That you see people come into the hospital and not leave. And you see people constantly watching them, listening to them. They think they're going to get better and they don't. And every single one of them, I hate to say this, but every single one of them, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have talked to this person. I wish I would have done this. This is something I've always wanted to do, but I never pursued it. Now, then at that moment, it was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to burn the ship. And whatever imposterness I feel, I need to have to say, bench that and move forward. And like you said, it's like you're more afraid of what you will end up thinking if you never did it. Mm-hmm. And after hundreds of people being a witness to that, with every person that was saying that I wish I would have done it, and was like, that's how I'm going to look like if I didn't do this. Not 10 years, not 30 years. That's at some point, that's what I'm going to do too. So for me, that was like, okay, here goes the ship. Bye.
I can do
And I'm going to,
that.
and then the first real show was the Beer Lab show that I did. And I just put out stuff that I thought was cool. And then I did the mushrooms because I liked the mushrooms and I thought they were super cool. And the science behind what the mushrooms are and how they function in the universe and how they have survived for, just like bacteria, along with that, before we even showed up, is amazing. And I didn't think, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna put some mushrooms up. Mm-hmm. From that point on, it was just like, I have no idea what the appeal to the mushroom is for people. I like making them. I think they're cool. I do a lot of research for them, and they've been pretty successful.
They've been selling out since day one. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know why, but
No, but you know what? Like, I was like you too. Like, I was chasing like themed shows, and like I have all these paintings. Like, what is this? Like, I just like, why did I paint this? Like, and so, but now like even working with you guys, like I'm starting to find my niche, and now I feel more comfortable telling like, I don't want to be in your show, or thanks, like I'm gonna pass, because I'd rather focus on something where I know that I can give something that's one that I really want to do, and that I know it's like, because it's more like my followers are going to like appreciate it more.
yeah.
Well, you're finding your voice,
Yeah.
and where your voice is best heard.
Right.
Yeah, and that is one thing that I've seen even just through the short years that I've known you guys. Short years has been, I don't know how many years now, but like just seeing the consistency, the growth, because I do remember some of your first shows, and once you started doing the mushrooms, she didn't have names or titles for the pieces.
I didn't have titles. I didn't have tags.
Yeah, we would make up the titles just to make it easier, and sometimes we would make funny titles, just for the hell of it, and then they would still sell. And I'm like, all right, cool. Next time we'll make an even funnier title. See what happens, and then it sells again.
I want to say about first 4 or 5. Well, no, not first 4 or 5. Until May of 2026, they were making the titles for all of my work. Only on May did I actually.
You forced yourself.
I didn't, but I enlisted my friend for food.
I'm gonna start bringing untitled pieces.
Yeah, this is what I tell people. Like, dude, if there are no titles on the pieces, unless there's a reason for it, like we'll just make something up. Because again, a titled piece will invoke people like, oh, why is it that title for this piece? And I'm like, you tell me, what do you think of the title for that piece? Just to get conversations going. But yeah, but again, thank you guys for sharing some of those stories, because it is one of those things that it shows not only our determination, but the fact that consistency works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though it sucks sometimes, we have to do the work, and it very much shows. And so for the next couple minutes, I do want to throw it out to the audience to see if anybody has any questions. And then we can do a couple little wrap-ups. Any questions that you guys want to ask any of the artists?
I had a question, but it's individually. Like, when did you first make the first piece? Did you doodle in school, or you're a kindergartner and you made something? You were inspired, or was it first grade, or in middle school where you jotted something down? Like, oh, this is good. I want to be an artist. When did you first do a piece of art, and then when did it click that I want to be an artist?
That's an excellent question. Like, when was your first inkling of art?
I'll go. I've been drawing and painting since I was a kid, like superheroes, cartoons. I want to say about high school, I stopped because I felt the ladies needed my attention more than the art. And then I just recently got back into it like 10 years ago. And so I feel happier personally because I'm returning to something that I loved doing as a child. But yeah, so I started as a young kid. I've always been in comics, cartoons, all that stuff. Always been.
Yeah, again, I come from the TV and film world, and so my journey has been different. So it was like in that world, I remember my parents getting a VHS camera as a kid, and I couldn't put it down. And I was like middle of elementary school, started making movies every weekend, and forget the playground, I was making films. But as far as this world, it's barely been 6 months. And it has been a wild 6 months, as I have, like, anytime I go down some new creative venture, I dove in with both feet. And, this is I've been lucky enough, I've had 5 shows in 6 months. I've sold a handful of pieces. And so it's been a very crazy journey. But again, my start here was kind of accidental. I didn't know I sort of had this in me. I initially thought about just doing a straight photography exhibit. And then as that process started, I realized this piece needed more, or this project needed more. And it's been an evolution, and it's still evolving. It started with just, simple upcycled frames and small touches. And now it's evolving into, a lot more painting and stuff around the pieces. The new ones I'm working on now are much more painting based than photography based. But it's been an ever-evolving 6-month process.
Mecca?
I think, honestly, it started when I was a kid, too. The first vivid memory I have of doing art, I traced this, because my mom used to buy workbooks for us. And one of them had the 100 and Dalmatians, dog on them. So I traced it, and I remember thinking it was so cool. I showed my dad. I was like, look at this thing that I just made. He looked at it. He looked at me. And I had to have been maybe 6. He was like, did you draw it or did you trace it? And I was like, I looked at him, I was like, well, and he was like, you traced it? I was like, yeah. He was like, okay, well, go back and do it, but don't trace it. And I remember taking one of his sketchbooks and then doodling in it because I was upset at him. I was like, whatever. So I started drawing in his sketchbooks, but I would take his sketchbooks and color in all the figures and whatever he was doing and copying his work. And I could see it in his eyes that he was in so much distress because he loves his sketchbooks. But I would take them and I would draw on them, and he would buy me my own. He'd buy me colorful ones, and I'm like, no, you see this one where you just drew this face? I'm gonna put lipstick on it. And he just looked at me like, that's great, Mecca, like you're doing amazing. But like that was like my first like start with art. And then I remember in the second grade when I knew I wanted to be an artist, we had to fill out little like name cards. And in the second grade, I got separated from my twin brother in classes because I was too bossy. So they were like, you need to figure out who you are, basically. And the teacher, like I was always doodling. And like there's a little note card. And it's like, my name is, what do I want to be when I grow up? And everyone's like, oh, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. I was like, I want to do art. She was like, well, what kind of art? I was like, I want to do all of it. So my 5th grade year, we got to do like a little film. And my teacher selected me, and we got to work with different actors. Like the guy who played Roderick on Diary of a Wimpy Kid was there, and I made him play a dog. So he was running around on stage on all fours, barking at people. And I have a framed photo of me dying laughing with my teacher because I'm just like, I'm making this grown man bark right now. Like, this is crazy. But like, I think just from like very young, I knew like I needed to do something creative. I needed that like outlet no matter what. And it just kind of stuck from then. Yeah.
I was always doodling, and I was back then they had the notebooks, Trapper notebooks, and everybody drew on those, and so that was my canvas. Little did I know it was canvas that wrapped it, but because Sharpies worked well on those. I was always the back of the classroom person, so I always drew. College, high school, I wasn't a very good student. Academically, I was fine, but attendance-wise, I wasn't. There was always kids in the art class that had a lot more fun, so I hung around the art class, skipped class a lot. So I was like a 10% artist most of the time. College, I doodled again. And then professionally, I had various professional jobs. So I would have Post-it note art a lot. And there were people in all of my career, they would collect my Post-it notes. And occasionally here and there, I would do custom art for somebody as just free because I was doing it. And then in 2015 was my official 50% art venture. And then from there, I've grown 50, 60, 70, and over up to 2024 November is when I said, I'm 100% art. And completely burned the ship and became an artist.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I remember I found a photo that I took of my own feet with a point and shoot, an Olympic camera, and I was able to determine that I was the one who took the photo of my own feet because we love photography in our family. We always, every time we went out, we always had 35 millimeter film cameras. Go to Kodak, get them 1 hour printed, but that one in particular, that was my first photography venture that I don't really remember taking the photo, but I know it was me taking it. And then growing up, it's 4 of us in our family, my mom, my dad, my brother, and I. And anytime we went camping or to an amusement park or to the beach, there's always 3 of us in the photo because somebody has to take the photo. And so it was either my dad missing because he was taking the photo, or it was me missing because I was taking the photo. And like growing up, we grew up, we weren't wealthy by any means, but my dad, he would always find ways to, make us do art, stay creative. He would go to Goodwill, he would go to, flea markets and buy Casio pianos, buy golf clubs, buy balls, bats, Legos. Oh, we grew up with a lot of Legos. And again, none of them had instructions, because again, there were Goodwill ones. So we would always be taught to create something from what you have. Even if it's not, even if that's not the purpose for that thing, just make something out of it. And with cameras, like he would always go to Goodwill, buy a point and shoot camera. That way I can use it And as a little kid, in case I dropped it or whatever, like, oh, okay, cool. It's not that bad. It's something wasn't brand new. But that also kept me a little bit more responsible, where it's like, oh, this is an actual camera, not a toy camera, even growing up as a little kid. So like that's how my career started, like just taking photos of my feet when I was a little kid. And then I officially became a professional photographer in 2009. And then that kind of ventured off from photography, event photography, weddings, headshots, corporate events. Then that moved into video, because besides photography, people wanted video. And from video it became editing became, graphic design. And then you just have to learn how to do every single craft, because you're a one-man show at that point. And so like especially you being in the film industry, like I was in the film industry for a bit, we're doing a lot of indie shorts where literally it's just the director, he's the one who wrote it, produced it, made sure all the logistics were there, even doing crafty. And then I was behind camera doing camera work, audio work, making sure we have lights, making sure the location's properly secured. And so it was a lot of just hands-on. And I guess that's why we can do a little bit of a lot of things, and we understand a little bit of a lot of backgrounds in different fields. But yeah, like I still have the photo when I was 2 years old of me taking a photo of my feet. And so that's where my
You got a gallery, man. You got to hang it up.
Yeah, yeah. I should bring that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want, you can commission me to paint it.
Ooh. And then add webs to it and some mushrooms. But yeah. But again, thank you everybody for coming out, for hanging out. And one last thing I want to ask you guys before we end tonight is, if you can give like a one sentence advice or a motto that you've grown up with or that has helped you, that would help a new artist, what would that be?
I think it's kind of what we talked about earlier. Like, don't be afraid to take the leap, because it's scarier to not create and not push yourself and try something than to actually, take that leap and go to try to follow your passion and the creative voice you have within.
I like that. Raymond?
There's like two things. Like, one's art wise and two are from the Army. So like the Army, they always taught us like, don't react, respond. So, that like, as I got older, I realized that how important that is. Like, something goes wrong, don't react to it. Like, give yourself time to respond, because when you respond, you're going to deal with it much better than you would if you reacted. And the other one is adapt and overcome. Like, nothing's going to go the way you ever want it. It's never going to come out the way you ever want it. So you have to overcome that and just be okay with what comes out. And then when I started painting, I was told, wash, pull, push. And I never knew what that meant, but now I know what it means. And that's what a painting is. You're constantly washing, you're constantly pushing, you're constantly pulling, and until it's done, until you're satisfied with it. That's what you're going to do. And wax on, wax off.
Mecca?
I think honestly, mine's is just do more work. You're never doing enough. Even if you're tired, do more work.
I like that. Georgina?
This is not mine. I'm just taking it from Nike. Just do it.
Burn the ship.
Burn the ship.
Burn the ship. Don't think about it. Just do it, and then it'll work itself out.
Yeah. And for me, my advice is always, knowledge is not mine to keep. So if you know somebody who knows more than you, be willing to learn. And if you know somebody who doesn't know as much as you, be willing to teach. Because again, we all grow together.
I love that.
And again, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you guys for participating. Thank you guys for listening. And like I said, we will be turning this into a podcast form besides smaller clips. And we'll be putting all their information on the description wherever this lands. But it is Brian, Raymond, Mecca, Georgina. And I am your host, Mr. David Ruano.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now let's get crunked. Margaritas, what?
Andy, wake up, Andy.
Shots.
Oh, dude. I don't. It's like I could survive that. I don't know.